Hello, this is my first thoughts on the strategy of Sunset. I do think that it's going to be a bit of a wild map. So I want to talk about attack first. Attack is going to be the more adaptive side. So the general gist of attack is going to be you want to control mid. So then you have the opportunity to split B and you have the opportunity to flank A. That is the main gist of this map for attack. Other parts of the map that you want to at least have a bit of control of in some rounds is going to be this sort of area here and some of B main. B main is less important. You don't really need that much control in B main. It's not really a place where defensive teams are going to look to push anyway, unless they have a good enough read to, or like you've gone A a lot or you've gone mid a lot and you haven't really contested this, then they might decide to do some flanks there. But generally, this area is only strong for defense right now. But I think as soon as it gets a lot harder to take this space, because I think attacking teams or attacking players are going to be a lot smarter with the util they use here. It's not going to be a very favorable position for defense to populate, so they're not going to go here. So it's not really that important, I don't think. This area, however, I think defense have a real chance of being able to take this space, funnily enough. Even against, like, I mean, not exactly against 5-man rushes, but like there's at least a chance, like if they have the right read, then then defense can actually take this space with util. Like smokes in good areas, flashes go through the window and things like that, reveals and things. I think there is possibility that you can take this space as defense. Therefore, as attack as well, it's quite nice to actually control this area away from them, especially like this sort of front area, because you don't want them to have the opportunity to flank, right? Because otherwise, like if they want to try and flank, then from A, if you control this space, then they have no way to flank unless they go through mid and they come through all the way down here to flank B. Obviously, they can go through here, but that's not really like a proper flank. Especially because if they split as well, then this flanker will have a tough time taking this space if you actually split as a team on attack, because they have to re-clear the market, which they don't particularly want to do. But you know, maybe they can catch people off guard with it. If they do go like the long way as well, they're going to have to be like not as be scared, but like be wary of the fact that because this was populated by an attacker side attack, that they might get reflanked on. So they don't really want to do this long route either. So it may just force them to think like, well, I'll just go this way. I'll just go CT. And that's kind of like how it will go. I think for attack, that you can essentially just make sure you control this space and make sure you control this space. And I think you're in a really good position to win the round. Funnily enough, you already control one of these spaces, which is quite funny. And then this one you have to like put util in. And there is a chance, like, once again, it's gonna be like, I feel like it's gonna be like Old Breeze a tiny bit, where there's a chance that you just have to use 2 pieces of util to take mid. Maybe even 1 piece of util. I'll get onto that when we talk about agents. But yeah, generally I think it's going to be pretty easy for attackers to take mid. Eventually, I think right now it's going to be a bit harder because people are still figuring out what comps to run and like what agents can take this nicely, and like just defend as well. So it's going to be an adaptation from both sides. So eventually it will land on like a medium where defense and attack, both sides, are going to be quite difficult to play against. But I think attack are going to have the advantage here eventually. I did originally think that defense had the advantage here, which they do at the start of the round. But I think if the attacking team want it, they'll take it. Let's go over to defense. And on defense, I think at least, so this is going to be, there's a good chance that this will not be correct. But I think this is the way I see it personally. The way I've seen it as well, the way I think it should be played, and I'm open-minded to see how other people play, especially pro teams play it. So for me, it's 1-1-2-1. This site is the biggest question mark to me. Don't know about A too much, but I think I've sort of come to a nice conclusion with it, but I could be wrong. So the one here is going to be the Sentinel. So the Sentinel more in particular is going to be Cypher. Cypher is definitely the best Sentinel on this map, and I think it's not even close. I think Killjoy has some very clear weaknesses on this map, so we're going to be seeing a lot of Cypher on this map. I don't think we'll see Chamber either, but once again, like, I could be wrong on that, to be honest. He just have some good TPs over on A through this wall, right? So maybe we'll see him populate this 1 on A. I can definitely see that possible. I think that is possible as well with maybe a controller here as well. But generally, we're going to see probably Cypher here with this trip across here. I think you've already encountered this trip if you've already played Sunset. This trip is not possible to shoot. You have to use util, or you have to have a high penetration weapon to shoot it. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. You might not be able to shoot it with a high penetration weapon. I don't 100% know, but you definitely need to use util. You definitely can use util like satchels and dog and decoy and things like that to get rid of it. This market player is probably going to be a second controller, or they're going to be a second initiator. Something like a Sova or something like a Harbor are going to be in this position, just to help support either side. They're either going to help push mid, or they're going to help defend B, in case of rushes and things like that. The two are going to be the Duelists and the Duelist and the Initiator. So something like a Raise in the Sky is going to be here, and they're going to help to control mid. Maybe even like a Jet and a Fade as well, so possible things like that. Yeah, no, maybe not so much Fade, maybe Jet KO or something. And then the one over here is going to be something like an Astra, an Omen, a Viper. They're going to be the controller. They're going to have smokes to help delay, other things to help delay, but generally they're going to be playing retake, because I think A is fairly easy to retake, because the attacking team don't have any good places to set up their retake from. But that's in my experience, to be fair, and from what I've seen. But I do think, like, as time goes on, once again, people are going to get more of, they're going to figure things more out, figure more things out, and there's a chance, like, because this is such like a different site, that it'll take like some time, but there's a chance that there's going to be a good way to defend this in a retake. But right now I don't see it. But yeah, we'll see when we get there. But right now I think it's really easy to retake. So putting like a one controller here to play for the retake is completely fine. Because yeah, I think it's just that they don't have any like long sight lines. And they can't like directly like interact with the bomb unless they're like pushed up through here or pushed up through here. It makes it really, really difficult for the attackers to defend the bomb. They have to like populate the site, and they can't go sit over here unless they've got like lineups. And even then, if you've got lineups and you like it's not like up against the clock as much, then the way back to site is going to be, you're like guaranteed to die before you fight them basically, or they might even be able to defuse. So it's like pretty difficult for attackers to defend the retake. So I'm going to talk about the agents now. So the agents in this map, we'll make controllers first. We're going to have Astra. We're probably going to have Omen, and there's also Viper, and there's Harbor. So these four are going to be the ones that I'm going to reckon we'll see. So generally, we're going to see these three as potential solo controllers. I do think that Viper might struggle a bit on attack to be a solo controller, but she might have lineups with her Cloud to make it possible. But I don't think we're going to see her as solo, but I do think it's possible. On defense, I think she's pretty good, even as solo. Bear in mind that with the Cypher, I think. Otherwise, I don't think it's really that great. These two can definitely solo controller though. That's definitely possible. And I think Harbor and Viper will be the strongest duo, potentially. Maybe something like a Viper Omen as well could be strong. But I think these two are the strongest two. To put like sort of like this, right? And they kind of defend everywhere on the map. Viper's kind of like a semi-sentinel anyway as well, so she's decent at like solo holding sites with the way that she can like the decay threaten, and the Viper, the snake bites are pretty threatening to go into site versus. So the next agents we're going to look at, they're going to be the initiators. So initiators wise, I think we're going to look at KO, Fade, Sky, and Sova. So Breach is going to be sort of like an honorable mention as well. This agent is basically, if you can't play Initiator, just play Breach, because all of his util is really simple to use. You don't need to know any lineups, you don't need to know anything really. You just have to like kind of position yourself in a decent position, and you're going to get value with your stuff. It's really easy to use, and I think Breach is kind of the honorable mention. That I think that if you can't fit an Initiator on this map, he fits in quite well. So I think is what's happened on Lotus, is that people have struggled to find what Initiator to put on that map, and then people just put Breach on Lotus. He just kind of fits a lot of different things. He's not, by no means is he like the strongest Initiator for maps usually, for instance, on Fracture, he's kind of like, because every other initiator didn't have the fullest of value, he became really good. That's kind of how I see Breach most of the time, is that if there's no other initiator that fills the niches of the map, he generally is able to, because of how generic his stuff is, and how easy it is to use. So he's like honorable mention. I don't think he's going to be the meta unless that stuff happens, basically. But I do think that KO is really strong in this map. I think Fade in particular, these two in particular, are going to be really strong in this map. I think Skye is just an overall strong agent, so she'll probably find herself on this map. And I think Sova's probably the weakest of the three, because the amount of corners there are. It's a very corner heavy map, which is why Fade is quite good. But I think Sova does have his moments with his dart being quite versatile compared to Fade's reveal. But generally, yeah, I think Fade is going to have her time in the meta on this map. And I also think KO has a good chance of being in the meta. The reason why I think KO is mainly is because there's a chance that he can just find an unbreakable 0 point in mid and completely nullify the fact to this mid, like basically the important part of mid, which is defense can take will have early control, and then attack can take it with like a bit of util. If he can just use one knife to take mid, it's going to be really, really horrible for the map's balance. So if an unbreakable knife is found for mid, like there's something along these lines, right, where it's going to completely silence any players trying to go aggressive early, so then the attackers can just populate the area first, there's a good chance that that he's going to be meta, and he's going to completely shake up this map and completely evolve the meta, like warp the meta around the fact that he can knife early on here. So, and everything else, I guess technically you can sort of say that for everything else, but generally the knife is going to be the one that's unbreakable because you can put it in places that aren't like direct line of sight, unlike stuff like Sova and Fade. So he's going to be his knife is like the most important ability in this map to figure out if it's going to be viable or not, because he will warp the meta around him. And then we're going to talk about the Sentinels. Not much to say. I think Cypher is the best Sentinel by far. I don't think it's even that close. I think Killjoy is okay. She has stuff like this ult, right? Not terrible. But the problem is she has nothing on B. There's like this one here, which is potentially good. But the problem is that it's sight lines down here, sight lines here. That is going to make it really difficult for it to get value if the teams are coordinated. And let me just remove the knife as well. And I think her turret has different like some problems with like the corners as well. She can't like fully cover everything. You see like a turret here not exactly covering everything. They can still sneak into A, and then if you do this, they can still sneak into B through mid, like this, right? And then the other way, they could sneak into A through mid as well. So you have to put your turret in the open, in which case it's going to get shot instantly, right? You have to put it like kind of like here, right? So it has this line of view. And then it's going to get shot here, and then you don't actually get any info, really. You just get the info that they're in this position. You don't get anything if they're going B, if they're going A, like, you don't get any of that stuff. So she has, like, some real big problems in mid. And obviously, Cypher doesn't get that info either, but he has a lot more strength, I think, on on defense than Killjoy does. And I think Killjoy really struggles on attack to, like, get value with turret. And to get value with her lockdown as well, which is like the biggest parts of Killjoy, is to get value with turret and to get value with lockdown, at least on attack anyway. So I think she's going to really struggle, and so I think Cypher is basically the only option on Sentinels. There's a chance that you get like Chamber TPs like this, and he can solo defend A. There's a chance that happens too, but I'm yet to see anything about it, and I'm yet to test it, so don't know 100% about that. There's a chance that becomes the meta instead. And the other Sentinels are like Deadlock, who I don't think we'll see play, and Sage, who I also don't think we'll see play, because they're just too weak. Both of them are just really weak. They have strong abilities, but that's also partly their detriment. For instance, on Sage, she has too many strong abilities for her to ever be strong, because her abilities can't be strong because they're too strong in concept to actually be strong in the game, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, the wall can't be too strong because then it would warp the meta around her. And same with like revive or heal, right? Not so much heal, to be fair. Even like heal is like, okay, let's not go on a tangent about Sage. Basically, they won't see play. Neither with Deadlock. And then we go on to Duelists. So Duelists are going to be Raze, Phoenix, and Jet. Obviously Reyna will see play in solo queue because it's Reyna. but I don't think she's particularly strong on this map. I think the only map that she has any real viable credibility to play in, I think, is Breeze. I did think it got worse for though. I think it has got worse for her since the updates. I think it actually was better before for her, but yeah, I think she's still viable on Breeze. But yeah, these are the three on Sunset. So the interesting one is Phoenix. These two are fairly self-explanatory. There's plenty of corners for raise to nades, raise to boombot, etc. And Jet can use the op. So self-explanatory. She's not exactly destroyed from her buffs, from her nerfs. Her nerfs were a lot, but they weren't enough to kill the agent. Honestly, kind of a good thing. Honestly, as well. Maybe she'll receive even more nerfs in the future because of it, but we'll see. Phoenix. The reason why Phoenix is good on maps usually is because on defense he's able to get access to orbs, because on attack he's able to usually get access to orbs anyway, because usually he can get kills quite easily. But on defense, it's going to be sometimes they can just play away from him, and it becomes really difficult for him to actually get value because his main value comes from his ult. And if you can't get orbs, then Phoenix becomes fairly lackluster. So the orbs on this map are here and here. So he's going to struggle to get some. There's a chance, there's a certain setup you can do to get the orb over here from A by cutting them off here. Makes me think you might need a Sage or a Harbor to do that, and because he'll just get spammed. And it's such a close range, so it's not like, for instance, something like bind B long on that for that orb. It's possible because they don't instantly see you. They don't instantly turn around the corner and see you in like a short sight line. They have to go all the way around the fountain. So it's possible that he's good on bind for that reason. That's how his viability on bind works, basically, is that you can get that orb fairly easily. On this map, that's not possible, because you actually don't beat them here. You actually lose to this wall, basically. You actually lose the fights, yeah, basically. And this one has more viability to get, but it's not quite as easy. It's still not easy to get. Both orbs are kind of attack sided, which is kind of to the detriment of Phoenix. Although I do think that he does have opportunities to be strong. So on attack, for instance, I think he's actually quite viable on attack. Generally, the wall is quite good, just to get into positions that you can lurk into, and just be generally annoying for the enemy team. To bypass the sentinel and things like that, right? Bypass sight lines, etc. His ult is always good as well if he actually gets value with it by running in and clearing space. He generally is always good. Hot hands are pretty good, like his molly. It's pretty good on A, but not really that good anywhere else on the map, unfortunately. Actually, what I mean by that is he has ways to do set plays on he has set mollies he can do on A, for instance, this one they can throw over the top. On B doesn't have that, and on mid as far as I know, he doesn't have that on mid either. So yeah, that's that. And his flashes are pretty decent. Problem is that flashes in general on this map are a bit weaker because there's plenty of angles to hide behind corners on, that there aren't that many areas that is a flash trap zone. So there's some for instance, front side B. There's only one area they can go if you properly flash them. And if you flash them from this angle, there's only one angle. I mean, there's two, I guess, they can run to. And even actually there's one. It's just this one, because from here you can see them. So there's literally only one safe angle if you flash them from here. But those few and far between in this map. So he generally flashes are weaker. But yeah, he does have one of the stronger flashes. In terms of speed and dodgeability, it's not that dodgeable. So yeah, that's it for the video. Hopefully it wasn't too unfollowable, but hopefully you got kind of my gist, the gist of my ideas on this map. Obviously I'm open to changing. Most likely next week I can imagine that it's gonna be completely different, or it's gonna be very different, or I'll get some of my things confirmed to me that maybe KO is good or something, or maybe I'll see server get played and it's absolute garbage. We'll see, I'll just see what happens, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just open-minded to if it's going to change, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on the map now, just so people know where I'm standing with this map. I do think the map is quite good, and I think it's quite fun, personally. Although I know a lot of people don't like it, but I tend to like the maps that people don't like. Honestly, in this game, it's quite funny. For instance, I like the original Breeze as well. Not many people like the original Breeze, but I personally liked it, and I like the new Breeze too. But no, I think a lot of people don't like the new breeze too. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not really agreeable sometimes. But yeah, there you go. Okay, thanks for watching the video. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.